Welcome back, everybody. It's episode 2. And so your journey begins. And this is a little more serious, or a lot more serious, depending how you look at it, compared to our last episode, which was no freshmen allowed. That was dope. And again, guys, like it, subscribe, let us know how we're doing in the comments, let us know what topics you want to talk about. And we can keep it going. But today we're going to talk about the sacred journey of wanting to take that next step in your organization, right? And that is going and trying to run for Eboard. And it may seem simple, and it may seem like, oh, all I have to do is win a couple votes, and it could be, right, depending on your organization. But in our chapter, it felt like a whole political process, right? It was all politics, especially just at the school, all politics all the time. And so we're here to discuss that. So if one of you guys would like to start off, your experience, how you see it, let's get it going.
Brando, you go.
All right, no problem. Yeah. So pretty much the focus of this episode is the journey to getting on to like an executive board position in your organization, and what it takes to stand out from the other members in your organization to be one of those leading members. And it's something that, when you join the org, you get, integrated in, you learn everyone's names, you learn more about everyone, you become close with everyone, and that's cool. That's going to take time in itself. But once you get, simulated into the organization, you want to start thinking, what's the next step? How can I make an impact? How can I change things and, leave my mark here so that, the organization's in a better spot than it was before I joined. And it's something that I'm keeping it vague, but it's something that you just got to be conscious of if that's what you want. You want to be determined, you want to be driven, you want to keep that goal in your mind, and think about that as you do everything in the organization. As far as, when you speak a chapter, if you're showing up to events, if you're planning events, you starting to plan an event as just a normal member prior to even being on Eboard is something that could definitely help you get recognized, and something that will help, your other members in supporting you to get into the Eboard. So I just said a lot, but
just to piggyback off what he said is, I'm just going to reiterate it, separate yourself from everybody, show that you can be a leader. So like you said, planning events, like being on a committee and doing a good job of that committee can show that you're a reliable and responsible person. We'll get into more detail, but and then, gain support early. There's nothing wrong with it. Just do it the right way. Don't be down everyone's throat. Be like, yo, bro, you voting for me? You gonna vote for me for president? Like what? Just try to gain support early, whether it be your friends or even the people that you would think that wouldn't even vote for you. You never know.
Yeah, I definitely agree with everything that was said. Again, you want to look at this as you're running for a political office. At least that's how I looked at it, right? And to run for office, you want to know what your vision is. You want to have a plan. You also want to start talking with your fraternity brothers or your sorority sisters and trying to see where their heads at, right? You may have people who, if you're running for secretary, other people in your organization who also want to run for secretary, right? Talk with them, see where they're at, and see how they're preparing. For me, running for president, that wasn't hard because no one else was running for president, right? So it was this weird, I don't want to say weird, but it was just like, okay, I know it's going to be me. At this point, people know it's going to be me, but I still had to make that impact, and I still had to impress people. I still had to come with a speech. It wasn't like, hey guys, thanks for voting me in. I knew it was going to be me. You guys knew, let's go. No. I had to let people know what I wanted to do, right? I knew where we were at, and I knew where we had to go, right? And I just wanted to let people know and have make people have confidence in me, knowing that their vote is not going to be wasted, right? But then that also goes into, okay, you're running for president, you're running for VP, you want to know who your e-board is going to be, right? For example, if you're going to run for president, you want to build a team around you. You want to know what they think needs to be done better, right? I'm not going to be the, you know, if I go to Nesto and I say, hey, Nesto, what do you think we need to improve on? I think we're doing pretty well. I don't want to hear that. I want to hear we need to improve in this area. We need to improve social media, right? Brandon goes to me, he has, oh, I have an idea. How about we do more videos about songs that are popping right now? That's fire. I don't want to go to the person that says.
You could always improve, for sure.
Yeah. Always have the mentality where I'm going, or we're going to get us to the next step in this chapter. And then also, which is the hardest part, which we may explain in this video or not, you want to then lay down the foundation for the next generation to then take what you have and then take it to the next level. And then from them to take it to the next level. At least that's what we thought. And that's why I thought what we had was so special, you know, because we actually cared about, yes, we cared about what we were doing now, but we also cared about what the next people or person up is going to do too. Right. And that's very important.
100%. Yeah, I agree with all that. So what you mentioned prior was that, you know, you made it so that people were confident about you. I think a good thing we could talk about is, you know, ways of building that confidence. How can you help your members around you feel confident that you're going to be, you know, the right man for the job or the right woman for the job, you know?
My bad.
Go ahead.
I think a good example of that is Zach, or was Zach. Zach is currently the president of the chapter that we just graduated from. But when Zach joined, he started taking on like little leadership roles, like non-Eboard, like committees. And Zach gradually took on more and more committees and built like a reputation of being reliable, like fundraising. He threw more fundraising events in his short term than all the other fundraising committee chairman ever did before.
And this was just when he was on a committee.
When he was on a committee.
He wasn't even president. Yeah, this is just committee.
So like he built up like a very reliable reputation, and you could tell that he had a drive that he wanted to do things, and that like helped him gain support. And he like started expressing his own opinions on how we could do things better, even as just a general member. So like I think that's like a great example of like how you can build a reputation early, and then and how it helps you like lock up a position potentially.
I'm using myself as an example because I generally do believe that it did help me. So when we first founded our chapter, I was immediately thrown into new member educator and had no idea what it was. And you could even argue that I still don't. But I was thrown into that position, and that position in itself has a lot of responsibility. You know, basically a professor, right? You know, basically a teacher and a mentor and the bridge between the new class and the organization, right? So that was a lot of responsibility. Also held social chair, right? And that was at the time when we didn't have like a house. So it's not like it was that important, but it was still good because I still had to be in contact. And it wasn't just about parties too, it was about other social events on campus. And then it's also your demeanor, right? And your reputation. People like me. People still like me. When I became president, you know, if people like you and if your reputation's good, especially on a small school where your reputation and your name can travel very great distances very shortly.
Quickly,
right?
yeah.
Very, very quickly. So people knew me, people trusted me already, people respected me. And they were also curious. They were like, what is he gonna do? And people didn't really know I was president until I had to tell them, right? You know, and that was fine, you know, okay, I still had to do what I had to do, right? My demeanor in chapters, you know, maybe when people were acting up in chapter, when it was my turn, I spoke business and business only, right? You know, I let people know about dates, I let people know what we're doing, how their new members are doing in the process, when's the initiation gonna be, so on and so forth. So I already separated myself from most people that when it came to chapter, it was about my business. And if I was president, then it was just going to be business. And then as your president, you know, it couldn't be all like strict, you know, I had to make it fun at some point.
Right.
But you learned that, you know?
Definitely learned that for sure.
Fun fact: I didn't want Gabe to run unopposed, and I already knew I was going to get my Eboard position, but I tried to run against him, and they
He's
didn't
going.
let me.
Yeah. That's
Shame.
funny.
I remember that.
But that's rare. You know, something like that's not going to happen. You know, us being founding fathers, we were at a position where the next person up, it was something that, you know, not everyone was really fit for that role. Gabe really did, you know, shine prior to, you know, being a president and new member education and social, you know, and doing everything, you know, yeah, you got to put in that work prior, you know, to even, you know, thinking about saying something to your, you know, brothers or sisters. Like, but this is all. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say, I definitely earned my spot, but also I could say the same for everybody else who was on the Eboard or who I knew was gonna be on Eboard with me, right? Like, Ernesto, Brandon, Luke, Tarek, hope I'm not forgetting any. Marco,
5,000 different sergeants.
Right, and that's another story. But I felt confident in having that team around me, and it was also a team that we also worked together beforehand. We spoke about it. We even had the group chat called Illuminati, because it was the takeover. But we felt confident in each other, right? And you need that. So if you're gonna run for any position on Eboard, you want to feel as confident and feel confident of the people you're with, right? Your team. Just because I'm president, like I never told anybody, oh, this person works for me. They do what I told them to. That's not how it worked. We're a team, because they can easily say no. I'm not going to force you to do it, right? I'm not going to force you to do your chair position, but I respect you more if you do it. And obviously, you get out what you put in, right? If you put in hard work and you put in the dedication, you will see the rewards, and the rewards may vary, but you will see some sort of benefit from it.
For sure. And everyone listening, keep in mind, we're talking IFC fraternity that we experienced. We're talking founding father experience that we experienced. We're talking small schools. So it's definitely a unique experience that we went through, and it's not going to be everyone's experience, but we just want to share what we went through so that you guys can have a, idea. At least, some of this stuff would be generic for running in any sort of organization, all principles and ideas that you could apply to yourself and, try and get into those spots. So, but
I know we also touched up on it, but like the whole founding father part and like understanding where your organization is, I think that's super important, because that allows you to create a vision of like what you want to do when you're an Eboard. So when it was time for like our part of Eboard, like Gabe, Luke, and I, and Brando, Tarek, and our 4 or 5 different sergeants, I don't even know. That was our transition point from, we just charted the year before, and we're like, what the fuck do we do now? And we kind of like lost some things in the process, but what we had was a plan. Like we knew that, all right, cool, we're now a chapter, but like now we have to excel as one. Like we have to be different than everybody else, and do it our own way. And I think that's what we did really well. We took the base that we had from the last Eboard, and Gabe was a big part of it because he created a vision of what he wanted, and a lot of people agreed with it, which is why he mainly ran unopposed. Well, he did run unopposed. I don't count.
Completely unopposed.
So well, he had the ideas.
But no one. I don't think no one wanted it.
That's what I was gonna say. I don't think anyone else was really fit for it. Like no one was really down to jump into that, And you took on a big role. So.
Are you sure?
Oh, wow. You were.
You were. I don't think Tucci was.
Tucci? It's a throwback. But
I think people. I think people would have, but it's a testament to the belief people have in you, where there's no point, right? Like if we were both running for treasurer, and I honestly knew that, even myself knew that, I know you're going to do a great job and a better job than I will, or I just don't want the responsibility that comes with that job. Yeah. And there's no point in I guess for them wasting your time and be humiliated when people don't vote for you, especially in a public vote. Well, not really a public vote, but you know if it was a landslide or not.
Right. And every voting process is going to be different. Keep that in mind, actually, if you're, currently an executive board member, if you currently have a public vote, that can be something that's a little uncomfortable. You might want to consider doing something a little bit more low key, figure that out yourselves. There's definitely different ways to do it, through like different apps and stuff. But I think that day is very important too. We talked a lot about what you can do prior to election day, but that day when you have to show up with your speech, like Gabe said, even though he went up, like no one was running against him. Sorry, Nesto. There was, still that energy, and Gabe brought that speech as if there was someone else standing in the room that wanted that spot, Ernesto.
Imagine if I actually wanted that position. Fuck that.
Yeah. But
I mean, honestly, it didn't matter because you still would have ran for something else and got it.
Yeah. And we're using each other as examples because we've been in those spots, not to gas each other up and shit. I mean, we all did a very good job. And even, Anton Pisano, he started this shit, Jeff Gould, the people that started our organization from the jump, we had a very startup mentality. It was like recruit people, get it together, and we need to form, an org, which is a whole different mentality of running an org. Forming an org and running an org are separate ideas. So once we formed, we needed to figure out how to run the shit. So that's an Eboard. It all comes down to Eboard. Eboard influences the entire energy and atmosphere of a chapter. So,
but it's funny that you say that, because that again, hindsight is 2020, right? So you look back at it, and now that I look back at it, I would like to think that us being elected on Eboard, like that transition was also a transition of mentality of now we're also a business, right? And yes, we're brothers, we're friends, we hang out a lot, all this stuff, but we have stuff to do, right? We have goals to hit, check marks, stats, you know what I mean? We got to run everything up now, because at that point, it was it felt like do or die for us, in terms of growing and just our presence on campus. So, and with help with everybody, the e-board, and also when you have that vision and people buy into your vision, they say, okay, this is a business, right? So we are cool, but if I didn't get that event clearance form time, or I haven't hit this person, I haven't hit that sorority for a social event, so on and so forth, that's business. And in the business, if you don't do your job, you're
fired.
Face consequences, right? You face consequences, right? Yeah. And that could be J-board and so on and so forth. Now that, again, like that type of conversation is more for when you're on eBoard, but that's still, it's how we ran our chapter was business and brothers, right? We're business, we're also brothers, but the two, I can't let you go of doing something wrong just because we're brothers.
Right.
Because
in a disciplinary sense, yeah, for sure. If there's things that need to be addressed, you gotta address it, So
yeah. And I was same with finances, events, how we looked at, awards. Listen, our first semester we swept, right? And that's
for another. That's for next time. We'll save
that. We'll that for a whole nother episode.
You're right.
Don't give him too much in one episode.
Yeah, what do you think? What is a spoiler?
Spoiler alert. But yeah, so, but as you can see, like, all of our perspectives, right? It's just the way we looked at things, and that's why I feel like we were special, and we'll continue to be, because the way we looked at it, just the dynamics, and I guess, for whatever you could say about the school we went to, I guess it made it like that, right? It made for that type of mentality and that type of viewpoint into trying to run the most successful chapter you could and trying to be the best, right? Because if you're not first, you're last. So it is what it is.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know what it's like in every school. Maybe it's not as competitive. Maybe no one cares if they suck. Like, I don't know. But at our, school and our chapter, we want to make sure that we were doing things the right way, that we were, different. It sounds cliche when you say that, but we really, actually called ourselves the difference when we started from the jump. And, not to get away from the executive board conversation, but when you're running, like you got to think about how to be different. It really comes down to that. If you're, you might be in an organization where you can do the same old, stay in that routine. But if you're thinking about really trying to get that spot and you really want to beat everyone out and it is competitive, you might have 10, 15 other people running against you. You should definitely try and think about, how can I be different? Even within your chapter, outside of your chapter, looking at other orgs, always try and be unique and creative and stuff. So.
Yeah, survey the competition, know who is doing well, who's doing that. For me, that road, that journey to being on Eboard, I spent a lot of the time. I'm not gonna lie. A lot of the time was I spent was looking at all the other chapters, like, why do people like them? For real, I was like, what are they doing right? What are they doing wrong? Because I wanted to do what they did right and then do better than that. And then all the stuff they did wrong, I never wanted to do that. Like I wanted to avoid those mistakes. So I studied the competition, right? I studied those who won the awards. I studied those who had the most social clout. I studied those who had the houses, right? And I studied those who weren't doing so well and trying to figure out why they weren't doing so well. And then once I got to the position where I actually had a say of how things were going to move forward, I was like, okay, that chapter is not doing so well because they might focus on this, right? And that's not what they should be focusing on. This chapter does well because they have good relationships with the sorority girls, right? Or they be in the gym. They're social. They aren't shy, right? Like if you have a mixture or something and you all hide in a room, that's a problem, right? That's stuff you avoid, and also study the stuff that we had to do. And so, but also make it I say that, and you want to do that, but do it in your own way, with your own flavor, with your guys, with your culture, so it could be unique, You're not really copying them, you're just taking what they had and making it your own, and you're making it better. So, yeah.
Another big thing, well, Brandon also mentioned, I'm taking everything that Brandon is saying, I'm just regurgitating it and like putting it out a different way, but
okay.
he mentioned elections. Obviously, this goes without saying, the most important day, because either you get it or you don't. But there's a right way to do it and a wrong way to do it. And I'm talking about like speeches. In speeches, it's not about you trying to make yourself, or not even like, just don't throw slander out there. It's not saying how you can be better than them. It's about how you're the perfect fit for the position, not how you can do it better than them. Like, you shouldn't have to ever throw anybody under the bus or anything like that. And for the most part, no one ever writes the same speech twice. So what you're writing is definitely different from what the other guy is writing. When we had elections, our most recent election, whenever the hell that was, I don't remember. I think fall last year.
Yeah, last semester.
Yeah.
About a year.
No one had the same speech. For president, we had two very different approaches to a speech. And the way that you deliver it is important too. Confidence. You have to be absolutely confident in what you say. You got to be able to exude it, because if you don't, how are the members going to expect you to do anything and be able to run a chapter? You got to set the tone there too, because this all leads to you being the next leader. I don't know if anyone wants to add anything.
Honestly, like you could look at it and say, like, there might be someone that does everything they're supposed to and, has everyone feeling confident about them, and they could really mess that speech up. And then everyone's sitting there like, and then you got the guy that, the underdog no one thought about, and they pull up and they have this golden, like, friggin' like word of like divinity, like some crazy speech, like everyone's like, like, and like, so I don't know, like your speech really could make or break it. Like, to be real, I'm not even gonna front. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't want to make everything else before the speech sound like it's not important, but that speech is very important for sure.
You're right. No, because I voted for people who I was just like, I'm not gonna vote for him, and then they made a speech, and then I actually voted for them. So, it does make a big difference.
I tried to give everybody their fair shot, regardless of what I knew about you coming in. Like, I knew that if you wowed me with your speech and you had a plan. Because at that point, I'm worried about the chapter's future, right? I'm not really looking at. I mean, I'm taking into consideration you as a person and you as a brother, right? And how you've done and what you've done to prove to even run for this position or possibly get this position. But sometimes, you know, it could just be a good speech, and I love writing speeches and I love speaking, you know, and sometimes that's all it takes, right? Just to sway the room. And a lot of times we're a prisoner of the moment, right? So we might forget, you know, you not doing those event clearance forms or you being a-hole during your whole rush process, right? But if you were like, wow, we really didn't know he had this in his locker. And then bam, next thing you know, you're on Eboard and we all like after the fact, we're like, wait, we actually voted this man in. But, you know, at that point, even then, like that vote is still a vote of confidence, right? Because if you're able to do that, if you're able to show that moment of brilliance, then you have it somewhere. You know, we hope that you continue it. One thing I do want to add is it also helps if you're active on campus. For me, I was in some clubs. I was
in OL.
I was an orientation leader, which helped. I was also a part of some clubs. I was the VP at NAACP State Youth and College. So I was the VP for the state of New Jersey. I was also very cool with administration, right? And shout out to the administration who were there, who are not there no more. You know, that's something you should also look at too. Who's your Greek life coordinator? You know, who's in campus life? Who are these people? Get to know these people, because the relationship that the Eboard had with them really helped us down the line. Right.
And that'll help you get elected. Sorry to interrupt. My bad. That'll help you like get elected if you have that relationship prior to even trying to get, like, if everyone knows, yo, they're tight with the school like that, that's a great pick for someone to lead the chapter. You know what I mean? So
leave in the comments below whether that's how it is at your school. You know, again, we went to a small school, so it was more accessible. But even if you're at a big school and you are able to have the relationship with certain administration members, that's very helpful. And I do believe that helped us a lot. It did help us a lot. It also causes a lot of late nights and a lot of headaches too. But these are good headaches, right? These are headaches you want to get early in the semester before you have to yell that intake is important. So that's a different thing. But yeah.
It's all facts.
Anything else y'all want to add?
Oh yeah. Next episode, watch out for a guest. Maybe a female. Probably a female. Maybe. Probably.
Most likely. That'll be hype.
We'll be talking about what it's like after elections, being the actual Eboard member, like what you're gonna do.
And we overlapped with that a little bit today.
Yeah, we foreshadowed.
For sure, but we'll get into it deep as far as once you're in that spot, you know, how do you run it the right way? So.
Yeah, looking forward to that. And as we said in the pilot episode, you know, moving forward, want as much representation as we can get. Different types of conferences, chapters, social, honorary, professional, so on and so forth. We want to highlight anything with other people that are in front of it. You know, again, and we will, as time goes on, have tougher conversations, but we also want to prepare for that. And, you know, we're not just going to go on and talk about the Abolish Greek Life movement without having the information as to why that's even started, right? I'm not going to be here but, oh, it's trash, or, oh, yeah, they probably should do it, you know? But, you know, if I could get some articles, and we will, and we'll get the proper stuff needed to have that conversation. And those are also conversations that might span more than one episode and also might span more than just us two. All right. So looking forward to that. Looking forward to having you guys see this, and looking forward for your feedback. So don't forget to subscribe, like, share this with all your Greek life homies, and let's get it going. You know, let's get this going.
And leave topics that you want to hear about.
Definitely. Just about to say that. Exactly. So.
Yeah, so hope everybody has a good week, and we'll see you soon.
Catch you next week.
Thank you, everyone.
Catch you next time.
Thank you.